Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has joined calls imploring Western allies to stand firm in the face of Russian atrocities, despite the economic fallout, declaring there's just no alternative. Joining us live now out of Canberra is the Assistant Treasurer, Stephen Jones. Stephen, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So some pretty strong language there, you've got to say, from Anthony Albanese overnight. He also says that if Beijing were to impose its will by force, that it will face unified resistance. At a time when we're trying to cool the temperature, does that rev it back up again when we're talking about Beijing?
Well, I think there's a strong expectation that Australia will stand shoulder to shoulder with other democracies around the world. We've been providing important support to the Ukrainian military against the unjustified, unwarranted and vicious invasion of the Russian state. We'll continue to do that, but I also think it's important that we send a clear message to other countries around the world who might be looking at what's going on in the Ukraine and saying, well, that gives us a green light to behave in the same way, that there'll be a very clear pushback from a united force by allies and by democratic nations around the world.
And that applies to Beijing as well.
Look, of course, we want to ensure that we have peaceful relations with our biggest trading nation and with our near neighbour, the People's Republic of China, but it's not on any terms. And the same message that we are delivering to the Russian state is the same message that we would deliver to any other country around the world. The norms of the post-war World War II settlement, the norms of international relations must be followed.
There were some really interesting statistics that came from the Lowy Institute overnight, Stephen. More people have concerns about China, Russia, even an invasion of Taiwan than they do about COVID as well as climate. What are your thoughts and reflections on some of those findings?
Well, we've seen this number really plummet over the last decade, Pete, and I think it just speaks to the fact that our international environment has changed, whether it's here in the Pacific, where there continue to be concerns, or up in Europe, as we've just been discussing. Australians are tuned in, and Australians aren't complacent about the fact that the international environment has changed. There are greater risks now. There's a lot of change going on, and they want to ensure that they want to see that their government is leaning into these challenges and ensuring that we're well prepared. We'll work for the best, but we're prepared for the worst.
On the economy, into your wheelhouse now, Moody's overnight affirming that Australia's AAA credit rating remains intact. How much credit are you giving the former government for that?
Well, none, to be frank, Pete. We inherited
none at all?
An atrocious set of books. We inherited an atrocious set of books. The three biggest budget deficits, spending out of control, and day after day, as Jim and Katie and I go through the books and look at all of the unfunded liabilities that we have, little hand grenades waiting to be kicked and going off. Zero credit to the former government. Talked a lot about economic management, but did very little of it. And I think the rating agencies and analysts at large have seen that the incoming Albanese Labor government is dedicated to budget repair. We'll be making a statement when the Parliament comes back, and we'll have a budget to be delivered in October. But we've made it very clear that the Scott Morrison's reckless spending won't continue, and the diatribe of economic management but no attention to it won't continue. We're looking at fiscal repair, and we're looking at ways to ensure we can grow the economy, grow workers' wages, at the same time as bringing down government debt.
What about unemployment being at 50-year lows?
This time next year, I've got to say, I'll get to that. In this time next year, we will be spending more money on servicing Scott Morrison's debt than we are spending on Medicare. Well, that's not sustainable. Australians would be shocked to know that we are spending more money servicing Scott Morrison's debt than we are on Medicare. That can't continue, so we've got to bring down that debt and ensure, as you say, that we continue to see high unemployment. A lot of that is structural. A lot of that is a factor of the high pent-up demand that we've had through the COVID period and the closed borders. We're still seeing that flow through to the parts of the economy, and it's a part of driving high inflation at the moment. But frankly, Scott Morrison, the coalition sat on all of these problems. Businesses crying out for solutions now. We've got a job summit coming up in at the end of the year. We'll be attending to some of these medium and long-term problems. But I've got to be frank, and I know you're wanting me to say something different, or people might be wanting me to say something different, but I give zero credit to the Morrison government for the mess they've left Australia in.
Stephen Jones, given the news overseas this morning, we'll have to keep it brief, but appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon.